Hello and welcome to this video on the quadratic formula. So here we're asked to solve a quadratic equation 3x squared plus 6x plus 2 equals 0, and we're asked to give our answer to three significant figures. So when you have a quadratic equation, there's more than one way to solve it. You may already know how to factorize to solve. In this question though, there are two giveaway reasons as to why you might need to use the quadratic formula. Number one is this number here, 3, the coefficient of x squared, is not 1. When it's 1, usually the best idea is to factorize or complete the square, but when it's something bigger than 1, it's often better to use the formula. It doesn't mean you cannot factorize, but usually the formula is the best approach. The absolute giveaway is this bit over here where it says three significant figures. This tells us that our answer is likely to be a decimal, so factorizing probably won't help us. So let's have a look at how you do a question like this. First thing you need to do is, looking at this formula here, it's got A's, B's and C's in it. You need to identify what A, B and C are in the formula. Now A is going to be the number in front of the x squared here, so A equals 3. B will be the coefficient of x, so in this case B equals 6. And C will be the constant at the end, so in this case C equals 2. And I like to write those down for each question I'm doing. The next thing you're going to do is substitute these values into the quadratic formula. So we're going to write this out again, x equals, and then everywhere there's an A, I'm going to write a 3, B, I'm going to write a 6, and C, I'm going to write a 2. So it starts with negative B, so that's negative 6. Then I have plus or minus the square root of B squared, well that's 6 squared, minus 4 times A, well A is 3, and times by C, and C is 2. And all of this is divided by 2 lots of A, so 2 lots of 3, which is 6. Then what you need to do is write this out again, negative 6 plus or minus, and what I'd advise you do next, and this is to gain you marks in an exam, is tidy up the square root bit. So in your calculator type 6 squared, subtract 4 times 3 times 2, exactly as it is here, and that should give you 12. In mark schemes for most exams, you'll get a number 12 like this in your square root, and this will gain you an extra mark. What we do then is separate this out into our two solutions. So there's a plus solution and a minus solution. So x equals negative 6 plus square root 12 over 6. This is one solution, and x equals negative 6 subtract square root 12 over 6. So what I've done here is copied the last step out again, only one time I've ignored the negative sign, and the second time I ignored the plus sign. This gives you your two solutions. Now if you type these into a calculator, the first one here will give you negative 0.4226497308, and the second one will give you x equals negative 1.577350.269. Now our question tells us to give our answers to three significant figures. These are not three significant figures. So what we need to do is, for the first one, x would equal, well, it's going to be negative. You may remember from significant figures that a leading 0 at the front is ignored. We then count our three significant figures and we get negative 4.2, and since this 6 after the 2 is greater than or equal to 5, this will round to a 3. So negative 0.423. For this next one here, the 1 does count, so our three significant figures are here, so it's negative 1.5, and this 7 here will cause this 7 to round up to an 8. So that's your first question and example for the quadratic formula. First of all, we write down A, B and C. We then substitute those into the formula and then calculate our answers and round them off to three significant figures. Here are two questions for you to have a go at on the quadratic formula. Now I will give you the quadratic formula once more. However, in an exam you will be expected to have memorized this and be able to use it from memory. So it's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So press pause, try these two questions, and then press play and I'll tell you what the answers were. Okay, for this first question then we would have x equals, one second, I need to write a, b and c out, so a is 7, b is 8, c is 2. X equals negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times 7 times 2, and all of this is going to be divided by 2 lots of 7, which is 14. So x equals negative 8 plus or minus the square root of, if you tidy up this square root you should end up with 8 divided by 14. You then separate out into your two solutions, so negative 8 plus square root 8 over 14, and then x equals negative 8 subtract square root 8 over 14. And this first one here will give you x equals, and I'm going to do the rounding at the same time, negative 0.369, and the second one x equals negative 0.773. Both of those are given to three significant figures. And for the second practice question, we have a equals 3, b equals 5, and c equals 1. So x equals negative 5 plus or minus square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times 1. All of this is going to be divided by 2 lots of 3, which is 6. So x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 13 divided by 6. Separate into your two solutions, negative 5 plus square root 13 over 6, and x equals negative 5 subtract square root 13 over 6. This will give you x equals, and the first one will be negative 0.232, and the second one x equals negative 1.43. Okay, so we have a second example here which is slightly different, mainly because there are negative signs involved. So a will be 4 as you might expect, but in this one b will equal negative 3 because the coefficient of x in this case is negative 3, and then c similarly will be a negative 5. This means you have to be very careful when doing the substitution steps in your question. My advice would be that every time you substitute a number that's negative, you put it in brackets. This means the calculator will take care of it for you. So let's have a look. For this one, x equals negative b. Now, we want negative b, but b is already negative, in which case it will become a positive again. So for this one, negative b will be 3. Then plus or minus the square root of, so b squared this time, that's negative 3 squared. And if we put this negative 3 in a bracket and then square it like that, this will be fine. You have to make sure that this squared comes outside of the bracket and not inside of the bracket. And then we have minus 4 times a, which is also 4, times c, which is a negative 5. So let's put that in a bracket. All of this then gets divided by 2 lots of a, which is 2 lots of 4, which is 8. So x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of. Now, if you type all of this into your calculator exactly as it is, your calculator will take care of it for you. So in this case, you should come out with 89 inside the square root. So if we separate into our two solutions, x equals 3 plus square root 89 over 8, and then x equals 3 subtract square root 89 over 8. Then this will give you, for your final answers, x equals, and the first one will give 1.55, and the second one negative 0.804, remembering to do three significant figures. Here are two for you to practice. This time I'm not going to give you the quadratic formula. Let's see if you can remember it for yourselves. Press pause and try these, and then press play and I'll tell you what the answers were. Okay, here are the answers then. So we have a equals 5, b equals negative 2, and c equals a negative 8. So x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 8. All of this divided by 10. So x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of, and that will come out as 164, all divided by 10. So x equals 2 plus square root 164 over 10, and x equals 2 subtract square root 164 over 10. This will give you your two solutions as 1.48 and x equals negative 1.08. And for the final question, we have a equals 1 because there's no number here in front of the x, b equals 4, and c equals negative 2. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 2, all divided by 2 lots of 1, which is 2. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus. So we end up in the bracket here with 24, and then x equals negative 4 plus square root 24 over 2, x equals negative 4 subtract square root 24 over 2, and then our two solutions, which this time will come out as negative 0.449, and this one negative 4.45. And this completes your video on the quadratic formula.